this is Tinwin Lala, also known as Maymay, or my trail name, Brani. I am currently getting ready to leave for a backpacking trip in the Japanese Alps. I thought I would just share a few things that I am bringing along, and by a few things, I'm always curious as to how this stuff fits in a backpack. I'm going to be exploring the Hakuba and Kamikochi area of the Japanese Alps. I can't wait. There are a few things that are a little bit different about this multi-day backpacking trip in Japan than doing a multi-day extended backpacking trip back in the States. One of those things is that I'm going to be using a lot of public transportation. Bus drivers and the Japanese community in general prefer that people be clean and respectful. For that purpose, I am still bringing my Teva Evo camp shoes with me. I know a lot of people these days, to save weight, just nix the camp shoes, but I think on this kind of trip, it's gonna be important to have clean shoes in case mine get super wet, super dirty, and also for recovery. I am still dealing with this mysterious foot issue, so I think it'll also be good to have those as recovery shoes. Another thing I'm bringing that I normally wouldn't bring on a backpacking trip is this teeny tiny little deodorant. Again, just to be respectful of the way that I smell, even though you get used to your own smell on these trips, but again, to be respectful of the fact that I'm gonna be in very close quarters on a train, on a bus with people. I just felt like it was probably a good idea to pack this thing. It is 0.35 ounces. I feel like that's fair for what it will give the people around me. Another item that I normally wouldn't bring with me on a trip, but I am considering and probably will bring with me on this trip. This is an REI sort of microfiber body towel. Most of the hostels that I'm gonna stay in when I go into town offer towels, but some do not. Some charge for towels or don't offer towels. I thought it would be a good idea to have a towel with me. My last night in the backcountry, I am also going to be staying at an onsen. Thinking of soaking in hot springs after days of hiking in the mountains sounds magical. I'm planning on tenting at every mountain hut camping area, not staying at the lodge. So really what's provided for me is what I bring. I do think it would be worth it to have a towel for the onsen. I do want to take advantage of that. And because it's going to be colder in the mountains, I don't want to be too wet just walking around. And yeah, I don't know. I'm still undecided, but probably will bring this extra towel. Speaking of towels, I do always carry this smaller microfiber to wipe off the inside and outside walls of my single wall tent. My big three are my Superior Wilderness long haul backpack. I love this backpack. It is made from Ultra. I think I would probably be happier with a Dyneema. Ultra seems to get a little heavier when it's wet. It's not as hydrophobic as Dyneema. I'm not sure about the science of that, but that's just what I've observed after getting rained on for like a solid week or more on the Appalachian Trail, is that my backpack just got really heavy. I don't use a pack cover. I use a Nylofume pack liner. It's just easier to have access on the go to my water bottles and things on the outside if I don't have a pack cover on, and just unnecessary weight. We're still in kind of a rainy season at the end of July, beginning of August. This is my Nylofume pack liner. Super lightweight, super awesome. I find that the 50-liter size is good for me because I backpack in bear country a lot, bring my bear can, and I also own a Zpacks triplex tent. So that's number 2 of my big 3. My Zpacks triplex. I love the triplex. I originally got the triplex because my husband and I were gonna be using it together, so we figured these Dyneema tents are so expensive, let's get one that I can use on my own and we can use together. We're 6 feet tall, around 6 foot tall, and broad, we're not small humans. So having the triplex, which is more of a true 2-person tent. Of course, it's a palace for me as one. It only weighs 1.5 pounds for this huge triplex tent. The downside of that is the footprint is larger and it takes up more room in my backpack. So the 50-liter backpack helps hold that triplex. Even though it's not extra weight by any means to have the larger tent, it takes up more space. So that is something to consider. That is also important because a lot of the tenting sites at these mountain huts are very small and very rocky. They're meant for more mountaineering tents. I have seen that people don't really have problems with their single wall tent. I'll be using Little Rock, Big Rock technique. There's a ton of videos on YouTube about that. So little rock, big rock is going to save me up at the mountain huts. Yeah, the only thing I'm really concerned about is the footprint. I'm just praying, crossing my fingers that I will be able to have space. I'm going to be up at these mountain hut sites during the week, so I'm hoping it won't be as crazy as people trying to tent on the weekends. These places get crowded. The season for most people to be climbing up to those huts is pretty short. There's a lot of people that enjoy the outdoors in Japan. I love it. We have my Superior Wilderness Pack, my Zpacks Triplex, whoa. And third part of my sleep system, I use the Therm-a-Rest NeoAir XLite Women's. That means it's a mummy shape, it's a little smaller, it's a little shorter. That's just to save weight. I am a tall human being. I am a proportionately wide, long human being. So that sleeping pad isn't necessarily super comfortable and fitting to my body, but it does save weight. It's only about like 12 ounces. What I also have been doing is bringing this Gossamer Gear foam pad. It's 1/8 inch, very, very light. So I'll put this underneath my sleeping pad to protect it from rocks. I can also use this to lay out on, to stretch on. I use it in the back of my pack to provide more padding for my back as well. On this trip, however, as I talked about, the tent sites are super rocky, lots of different formations of the rocks on those sites from what I can gather. I am considering bringing my NEMO Switchback accordion foam sleeping pad. I've used this before in conjunction with my Therm-a-Rest. You definitely want to protect this from getting any small punctures that will make it deflate over time. These inflatable sleeping pads are also not cheap, so I'm gonna take care of them. However, my thinking is if I bring both of these, that's gonna increase my weight by almost a pound. I think this is around 14 ounces. So I could either bring only this guy or go back to my 1/8 inch foam and the inflatable. So that's my conundrum on this trip. I'm still deciding. I will decide by tonight in the next few hours. I just wanted to take you all with me on that thought process, sleeping comfortably versus weight cost. Because the trails that we're gonna go on, they are very steep with a ton of elevation gain. Think White Mountains of New Hampshire, but you're at double the elevation, which the White Mountains of New Hampshire, mad respect, those trails are insane. But it's a similar type of terrain. The heat is crazy. I wanna take care of my body, I wanna take care of my feet. That's why I am weight conscious. I'm also willing to slow it down, take it easy. If carrying a little bit more weight protects my gear. The other part of the big three sleep system is my Katabatic ALSEK 22-degree quilt. I love this baby. So soft, so light. I think it's maybe just over 1.5 pounds. Has such a good soft feel. It keeps me warm. It's a quilt, so if temperatures are warmer, then I can vent very easily. I love, love, love my Katabatic quilt. It is maybe one of the best parts of my backpacking system. Unfortunately, it's gonna be pretty warm at night. I think overnight temperatures up in the mountains are gonna be in the low 40s, maybe even the mid 40s, which for me personally is quite warm, and that means that the days are gonna be even warmer. This quilt will be perfectly sufficient for those temperatures, and like I said, it'll be able to vent. We are going to have some rain, possible thunderstorms, but hopefully not till I get down off the mountain. I have my Lightheart Gear rain jacket and my Lightheart Gear rain kilt, not quilt, kilt. My rain jacket can also be used as a windshield or windbreaker jacket, and coupled with my Senchi Polar Tech Alpha fleece. Overall, I feel like these two things combined will probably keep me warm enough on this trip. I will probably still bring my puffy. I'm going to be up above elevation, be sleeping around 8,000 feet. And I'm gonna be hiking up over 10,000 feet of elevation. One of the goals is the third highest peak in Japan. In my mind, it seems like, okay, if I get injured, if I slip and fall, and I need to keep myself warm while I'm waiting for help, it makes sense to carry a puffy for that reason. I am bringing my outdoor research beanie, my outdoor research gloves, which can also be used for some of the rock scrambles with chain. I can use these gloves for that. I normally bring 2 bandanas on a trip. As you all have seen, if you watch this channel, I sweat a lot, and these bandanas just really save me. And they have so many extra purposes as a towel, to block dust. On a trip like this where it's going to be really rainy, possibly cold, and I'm going to be staying in hostels in between and need to do laundry, I'm probably actually going to bring 3 pairs of socks. I don't know where my 3rd pair went. Maybe I'll just bring 3. I like to have a dedicated pair of sleep socks. My feet have so many issues. My feet have like grown their own tumors. No, not bunions. I am someone who, no matter what I do, is prone to blisters, things like that. Do what I have to do to get my feet through the trip. And sometimes that means having 1 extra pair of socks in case both socks are sweaty, wet. Having a dedicated pair of dry sleep socks has really helped with my foot health. And if I don't respect my feet, they will be very rebellious and try to keep me from doing future adventures, like they are right now. But I'm gonna power through whatever is going on with my foot right now. I got these new gaiters from Etsy because this shop delivered to my box here, and I couldn't get on the Dirty Girls website from Japan. I have Laser Cat and Pretty Flowers. In my mind, Laser Cat should be saved for trails that are super buggy because they can like laser away the snakes and the bugs, and these are pretty. So I'm gonna decide between my new gaiters. Pretty excited about this. Kula cloth, other bandana, sun gloves. I'm wearing a merino wool top. Absolutely am obsessed with my Ridge merino wool sun hoodie. It keeps me relatively cool in these crazy hot, humid temperatures we have in Japan. It keeps me covered for sun protection, bug protection. It's a bright color, so it won't attract the killer hornets that are attracted to black, apparently. My pants are black. These are actually LL Bean pants. They're super lightweight. They dry super fast. Again, protecting my legs from all the overgrown vegetation that is everywhere here because of the rainy season. Protection from just bugs, sun, things that will keep me cool in warm weather, and also warm if it gets cooler up on the mountaintops. The wool is really great for that. Even if this wool top gets sweaty and whatever, it somehow manages to keep me warm and also cool when it's wet. So I love that. I also bring dedicated sleep clothes, merino wool again. Oh, found my 3rd pair of socks. Ding! I finally got myself some Super Feet insoles that I will be using in 1 of 2 pairs of shoes. Either my beloved Lone Peak mids, the 1st edition. I love these shoes so much. Or I'll be putting them in my new Hoka Challengers. The Challengers are great because they're good for road walking or trails, but the tread isn't quite as grippy as maybe the Max Track on the Ultras. I just don't know. With my foot issues, I feel like I need a little bit more support and maybe drop than just using the 0 drop of the Lone Peak mids. However, is the Challenger going to be enough up in the Japanese Alps? I'm unsure. I do know that on my last day of backpacking, I will be wearing a fully loaded pack going across a few different snowfields. So that makes me consider wanting something with this kind of tread. These are also super fresh. So those are things I'm also considering as I pack for this trip. We've got the first aid kit. I also have this little Dyneema bag that has Leukotape, sewing needle, lighter in case I need to sterilize to pop blisters. I'll also have a little bit of Neosporin. What else is in here? Oh yes, so some Tenacious Tape in case my sleeping pad gets a tear, my tent gets a tear. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my Garmin. I have my Nightcore headlamp, my Nightcore charging bank because I do plan on bringing my GoPros. I'll have this electronics bag that I love from Hilltop Packs with probably 3 of these batteries, one of which is the extreme one. As far as toiletries, I'll just have I like the Aquifer lip protectant with sunscreen, actual sunscreen. Most of my body remains covered, so I just don't even have to worry about sunscreen for my body, which is part of the reason why I wear sun hoodies and lightweight pants. I also wear some sort of baseball cap but I still have to bring a little bit of sunscreen to protect my face. I'll bring one of these little flossing guys and then rinse and reuse. I'm bringing a few of these to use when I get to town in between my trips in the backcountry. That way I can just keep my eyes healthy, because if I don't take care of them, I don't want to go blind. Got eye drops. I carry hiker toes with me because, again, as someone prone to blisters, I have found that this helps with those recurring hot spots. No matter if I wear Injinjis or 2 pairs of socks or whatever, I always get hot spots in very specific areas. So hiker toes, having a little bit with me, has definitely helped. I have these little bottles for my prescriptions, my allergy medicine. I also have maybe the tiniest toothpaste I've seen in my life. I got it at a hostel, and I decided that I knew exactly what I was going to use this tiny little toothpaste for. So thank you, Japanese hostels. I'll also be bringing a tiny toothbrush, this comb, small, lightweight, some toilet paper. I am gonna bring my trowel just in case of emergencies. Some emergency happens. I ate something weird that my stomach's not used to. I wanna make sure that I'm able to take care of my number 2s appropriately in the backcountry. And again, this is for below tree line. Above tree line, I would need to pack it out or use one of the bathrooms that they have designated for those purposes at the mountain huts. I would say one of my biggest luxury items that I bring on every trip, baby wipes. And I will use one on my face. Again, just keeping that eye area clean is so important because of my conditions. So I use it on my face, and then I can just kind of do like a full body clean off my feet so that there's nothing extra on my feet that's causing hot spots or that could be rubbed up against and create blisters. So the trekking poles I'm using on this trip are the Zpacks carbon fiber trekking poles. I still have everything bagged up from bringing it over here from the US. Love these trekking poles. They are super lightweight. I did break one on the Appalachian Trail. If anyone watched my Appalachian Trail Shorts series, you will see that one of these was broken. Zpacks is amazing. They sent one out to me on trail. I need 2 trekking poles to set up my Zpacks tent. I am hoping and praying that nothing happens to these poles during the next week and a half of my trip in the Japanese Alps, because if I don't have a tent and I don't have a reservation at the hut, I will probably just have to go back down the mountain and figure it out from there. Expensive and not the best time. Hoping and praying that these poles hold up. For food on this trip, I did decide to go ahead and cold soak again. So I'm using my Talenti jar and my Human Gear spork. I am planning to do a small resupply 2/3 of the way through the trip. Speaking of food, one thing that is totally different for me here is that people sleep with their food in Black Bear country. It goes against everything ingrained in me from the US. And I know lots of people in the US sleep with their food in bear country as well. That is not the mindset that I had gone with. If I'm in bear country, I'll bring my bear can, store my food, anything that smells, and I don't trust myself enough to do a bear hang properly. In Japan, people just sleep with their food in bear country, unless it's brown bear country, like in Hokkaido or an area over there, or an area where black bears have been excessively aggressive with tent. In a way, it's kind of luxurious because I don't have the extra few pounds of the bear can. I don't have to worry about hanging my food. They don't have bear lockers at huts. There was a recent bear, not attack, but a bear got frisky with a tent on more than one occasion at one of the tent sites near Kamikochi. That tent site's closed. It was one of the ones I was going to use, but going a different direction now. I don't think it's a bad idea for the huts to have bear lockers or places where people can store their food. There's just a lot of people who stay and camp at these huts. I don't know, to protect people, to protect the bears. Maybe in the long run, that's what they'll end up doing, as there are just more people recreating outside and more bears. The bear population has been shooting up in Japan. It's a whole thing, and that is for another time. For food, I will be bringing my Zpacks food bag, Dyneema Super Ultra Light. I have smelly proof bags that I will be putting my cold soak food inside of, and then they will go in this bag. And once they're inside the smelly proof bag, inside the food bag, inside my Nylofume pack liner, I'll keep it in my backpack and sleep near to it. Feels so wrong, but it's also really nice to not have to carry the extra weight. Another thing to consider when backpacking in these conditions and places is water, and especially keeping your weight down, not carrying too much water, carrying enough to get to the mountain huts. I am bringing my Sawyer filter and my CNOC bag because the temperatures and humidity have been so intense, because I do sweat more probably than the average person just naturally. It's important for me to have that hydration. So that allows me to carry less weight, fill up at any little streams. Water is more scarce up top. The mountain huts provide water for a fee for day hikers, and most huts will give tenters and people who are staying in the lodge or the hut water included in the price of their accommodation. As of now, tents are about 2,000 yen. So for 2,000 yen, I get access to the toilet, water. So that's a majority of what I'm bringing outside of the bags of food that I have to reorganize into cold soaked bags. Should be relatively good to go. That is the gear that I am bringing with me on my first backpacking trip through the Japan Alps. I just love saying Japan Alps. It sounds very exotic. I'm extremely excited. Stay tuned. Videos will be coming to y'all and you'll get to see, did I wear the Hokas, the Lone Peak mids? How did my tent do in those super rocky mountain hut tent sites? Did I go with the NEMO Switchback or the Therm-a-Rest after all? And you'll get to see me struggle up the mountains with my fully loaded pack. Sweating. Thanks for hanging out with me on this pretty basic what I'm bringing with me gear video. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking this video, and I'll see you on the trail. Thank you so much for taking a walk with me. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more adventures ahead.